So today is day 600 of a 3-week war. So the Russians were supposed to take Kyiv in a matter of just a few days, 3 days maybe, and then mop up the rest of the country in about 3 weeks. Didn't happen. So all's going according to plan is what we always hear, but this means that we're involved in just about halfway through the 28th 3-week special military operation. All has not gone according to plan. And when you think about it like that, it's really stunning because when this war first broke, I was thinking, oh no, this is bad. What's going to happen now? Like, how long can they last? And then Zelensky said, I need ammunition, not a ride. And I think the world's attention started to get riveted to Ukraine and go, wow, who is this guy? What are they standing up against? Why are the Russians invading? What's going on? And we started paying attention, and then our attention span just kind of fell off. And I wrote an ebook about what was going on, and then by the summer, about 5 months into the war, 4 months into the war, whatever it was, I started going, you know what, I got to do more. And so I shifted my attention to YouTube. And I came here and started doing these daily updates, right? And so I've been doing this ever since, trying to help everyone stand with Ukraine. And that goes to the reason that we're doing this video today. This was from UATV in English. It's only a 2-minute clip, but I want to emphasize some of the things that his guest talks about how to keep Ukraine front and center, because it's very important that Americans, and my audience is mostly American, followed by Brits, Canadians, and Australians, and that's about 60% of my audience, and then the other 40% are English speakers throughout the world. Let's hear what he has to say.
What shall we do, you as a scientist, as a strategist? Give us a strategy. How can we help the United States to understand what is going on right now in Ukraine? That it is really important to defend human values all across the human universe, not just in Oklahoma or in New York, but in Ukraine just as well.
And before he talks, that's a brilliant point. We're defending our values. It's not just defending Ukraine. It's more than that. And by the way, the person that's speaking, his name is Jason Smart. He's a political scientist, and he's a conservative who's worked on conservative causes, as you can see throughout his resume here, working with McCain and Cruz. And so he's trying to speak to, now, here's one of the things I want you to be aware of. Don't make Ukraine a partisan issue. I recognize that there's most of the support is coming from the Democrats, at least in the United States right now. Don't make it hard for Republicans like me to be able to help support Ukraine. Don't do that. We want support for Ukraine. We can argue about partisan issues about other things, but this one is far too important to be partisan about. Okay, let's hear what he has to say about how to keep this front and center, because this is important.
Well, there's a lot of polling that's been done about this in the United States, and there's a couple of things that we know. We know that Americans, once they understand the amount of financial support and they understand that it's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it equates to about 3.5% of the military budget. It equates to about 27 minutes of the U.S. federal government spending.
Stop. Brilliant talking point. When people talk about this and say, well, it's too much, we need to spend on other priorities. 27 minutes of federal government. That's it. Use that talking point. Talk about how it's only 3% of military spending. Talk about those things. And then it doesn't seem like the same thing, because what Marjorie Taylor Greene and others who want to oppose aid for Ukraine do is they magnify the figure, and we can't quite wrap our minds around the figure. Like, how much is X number of $1 billion? What does that really mean? We just know that's a lot of money, and we should be spending on other priorities. But this is important, and you also have to get behind this is important because it could be that trigger to World War III. Because we can't let Russia do this to a democracy. Because if we allow this here, what are other dictators somewhere else? Xi in China, for instance, what are they going to do? Will it become broader? Will it become worse? Can you stop it while it's a molehill so it doesn't become a mountain? Get into those kinds of conversations.
So it's not huge amounts. America can't afford it. At the same time, we understand that Americans, if they understand that Russia is losing, that is 50% of the Russian military has been destroyed through this assistance, then they become much more supportive of the war. They realize.
Okay, that's another brilliant point. When you understand just how much damage has been inflicted upon Russia, who has been kind of a train wreck in the region, who has been the bull in the china shop, the one that everyone else fears. The reason that these countries have joined NATO is because they're afraid of Russia. They're trying to get away from being under Russia's dominance. When you understand that they're really being devastated by this, you start to support Ukraine more. That's my observation number two. The third part of that is as Ukraine starts winning, when there are victories on the ground, you'll see the polling support for Ukraine go up as soon as you start to see victories. And you'll see this statistically happen. So at those points, those are when you want to wave those flags about, hey, look, you should be supporting these guys. These guys have a chance. It's a David and Goliath show, and you have a chance to be helping support David against this evil barbarian Goliath.
It's a good return on investment. And they realize it's something that is winnable, and so the interest remains much, much higher. Ukraine at this point, though,
and that winnableness is a big part of it, because what I hear and what Russia wants to continue to say, and I read RT all the time, what Russia wants to continue to say is counteroffensive has failed. Ukraine can't win. It's all over. Why increase the bleeding or the damage to these poor people? Like, why don't you stop now? It'll be better for them. Of course they want to continue with that message, but that's not the correct message.
Do what other countries do. Essentially, every country in the United States that has an embassy does, which is lobbying. And lobbying does not mean meetings in Washington, D.C. alone. It means television ads, it means radio ads, it means digital ads. So Americans understand what is going on in Ukraine and why this war is still relevant.
So it's more like a presence.
Okay. And with them being preoccupied with the hot war itself and trying to get the equipment there, I understand why they haven't lobbied, but that's why you're here. You need to be Ukraine's voice to the degree that it's humanly possible. Send these kind of videos to other people that support Ukraine. Give those talking points to people who are on the fence and help them understand. Lobby your representatives, especially those Republicans that seem to be against this. Ask them why they're okay with a dictatorship overrunning a dictatorship that's in the veneer of a democracy, that's Russia, overrunning a democratic republic. Ask them that. Okay, let's keep going.
The constant presence on the media markets, if you said.
Exactly right. So because just think about it, anything else in this world, life goes on. There are news stories every day.
Absolutely.
And things are going on in our country. For instance, polling shows that Americans are very concerned.
And this is important because the news cycle will drown things out. And we're seeing this with what's going on in Israel and Palestine starting to displace what's happening in Ukraine. We can't forget about what's happening in Ukraine.
Americans are very concerned by illegal immigration in the first place. There's essentially 12 million illegal immigrants in the U.S. That 12 million people, they're desperate to figure out a solution. China is viewed as a major threat. China is a threat to the United States, undoubtedly. So they say, well, if we have a choice, Russia's very far away and it's not really a danger to us. Whereas the Chinese are taking American jobs. They are a threat to espionage in the United States, a significant threat. They do steal American technology significantly. And so that is what the priority that Americans see every day. So we have to bring to their mind what is going on and what Russia poses a threat, not just to Ukraine, but to all of Europe and hence to NATO and hence to the United States.
Yeah, and he's spot on. You have to understand why it's important. I don't think that we've done a satisfactory enough job explaining to the American population, and that's possibly true in other countries as well, why this is so important. And it's really on us to be able to do that. So if you're watching this, thank you. Thank you for informing yourself. Now, I'm going to thank you in advance for sharing this kind of thing with others. Share whatever videos with others that you think are going to help them be informed and understand. Share it with the people that are right on the fence. Get them over first before you try to get the hardliners. Don't worry about hardliners right now. Just try to, and also try to speak to your representatives to help them, nudge them the right direction. You'd be surprised how few letters it takes for a representative to change his mind on a particular issue. Okay, that's it. I stand with Ukraine. It's day 600. I hope you do too, and I hope you continue to stand with Ukraine. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees, and thank you more than anything else for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.